All right, what's up everybody? It's Ethan here, and I'm coming to you from Silver Plume, Colorado. So, a lot of you probably have never heard of Silver Plume, Colorado before. A lot of people drive right past this town without ever even realizing that they're driving by a town. But this town is actually located right off I-70. I-70 is right over there. It's a very small town. There is an exit for it. And as you can see, it's such a small town that they don't even have paved roads here. They're all dirt roads. And if you go all the way back to the end, to the edge of town here, you will hit the trailhead for the 730 mine trail. So it's right back here, and as you can see, there's not really much any parking at the trailhead. You maybe could fit 1 or 2 cars here, but there's a lot of parking in the town, you know, like the street I just parked at, or anywhere in the town. It's such a small town that really no matter where you park at, you're not a very far walk from this trailhead. So today, as I said, I'm hiking up the 730 Mine Road trail, whatever. I've actually hiked up this trail before, back in the winter time. And I hiked up to where the trail ends, which is about 2 miles. So this trail just kind of switchbacks its way up the side of this steep hill for 2 miles. Goes past a lot of cool mine ruins. And I remember there was even an old mine shaft that you could walk into a little ways before it gets sketchy. But today my end destination will not be the top of this trail. I'm going to keep going from there, do a semi bushwhack for about a half a mile before breaking Treeline, and then do a nice tundra walk for about 1.5 miles to get to the summit of Silver Plume Mountain, which is 12,447 feet. Can't wait to show you guys this hike. Should be a lot of fun. And because it's neither a 14er or a 13er, there's most likely not going to be a lot of people on the trail today. And as you can see, there's a great view down to Silver Plume. That is the entire town right there. Very small. Getting a little bit of alpenglow this morning. Really cool to see. And as you can see, there's the town way down there, I-70 right next to it. And you can definitely hear all the noise from I-70 when you're hiking on the, you know, first 1 to 2 miles of this hike. Eventually we'll get high enough up that we won't be able to hear it anymore. And then once we start the off-trail part of this hike, we'll be getting further away from I-70. But do keep that in mind, that this isn't going to be the most quiet trail for the first, you know, at least 1 mile. But it will be quiet in the sense that you'll most likely have the trail to yourself. Coming up to some mining ruins here at about 10,000 feet. There's lots of old mining stuff on this trail. So if that stuff piques your interest, even if you don't go all the way to Silver Plume Mountain, there's a lot of mining history just on this trail, so it's definitely worth checking out. And the views aren't bad either. Also, I will say this would actually be a pretty cool hike to do during the peak fall color season. There is a lot of aspens along this trail, so I think like end of September, early October would be a really cool time to hike up this trail. All right, so I'm nearing the end of the 730 mine trail at about 10,500 feet, and right here, right before the end of the trail, you'll hit this little marker that says Griffin Monument to the left. And Griffin Monument, I'm not going to head over there right now, I might on the way back, but it's basically just a little marker that was put up by the guy who used to own this land, and it's the grave of his brother, evidently. So it is a nice viewpoint from what I've heard, though, so this would be, generally speaking, the stopping point for most people who are just planning on doing the 730 mine trail and not planning on going any further up. As you can see, there's a mine shaft right here, goes way far down there, and this is all, you know, they got grates over all these old mine shafts so that people don't, you know, fall in or try to climb in. But anyway, I'm about to hit what's called Brown Gulch, and there's going to be a little creek crossing, and the creek is pretty much right where the trail ends, and the off-trail bushwhacking begins. All right, so I'm in Brown Gulch, and here's the little creek that you need to cross, and some more old mining equipment down there. There's just a ton of that all along this trail, but you can see they got some rocks piled up here to make it an easier crossing, and it's a pretty easy little, looks like a pretty easy little creek crossing. And there's actually some signage up there. I'm surprised by that. I really didn't think that there would be any more signage past that little the Griffin Monument, but there is. All right, so this hike definitely drastically changes after the 730 mine trail ends. So I'm up at about 10,800 feet right now, and you can see there's a very faint trail. It's hard to find in some places, but the trick is that you should always be just left of the creek. So basically, once you cross the creek down at the bottom where the trail ends, you'll see a faint, very faint trail following the left side of the creek, and that's where you want to stay. So even if you can't always see where the trail is, just make sure that you're always within line of sight of that creek, and you'll be fine. It's a great way to know that you're on the right path, as long as you don't get too far away from that creek right there. But you can see it's very, very steep through here. It's a completely different hike than it was, you know, half a mile back. The first half of this hike is, you know, just some moderate switchbacks up the side of that slope. But then once that trail ends, it immediately turns into a very steep semi-bushwhack. And it is overgrown in some places, but for the most part, it's pretty easy to follow and to know where you're going. I shouldn't be too far away from breaking tree line at this point though, which will be a welcome sight. All right, well, I'm starting to break tree line now, up at about 11,500 feet. You can see there's a little snow field there, and that's actually an important marker because that is the point where I'm gonna cut to the left. I'm actually just gonna start kind of heading left here, and I believe way up there, I think that might be the summit. I'm not sure, could be a false summit, but I think that might be the summit. Given where I am right now, that looks like it would be about right or pretty close to that. You'll be able to see it a little better once I get to the top of this hill. But the views have certainly opened up. It's very beautiful up here. They are calling for thunderstorms starting at noon today. That's why I started early. But for right now, the weather is just absolutely fantastic up here. And I'll tell you, it feels really good to be out of that forest. But as you can see, there's no trail. You're just walking up through the tundra, and it's steep. You know, since there's no trail, there's no switchbacks or anything like that to help make the hike a little easier. You just gotta, I mean, you can kind of hike in a zigzag pattern if you want, but generally speaking, you just have to go up. Look at that buck just taking off. I wonder if there's like a hunter nearby or something like that, because he was booking it. I'll tell you right now, that was like a 10-point buck, and it is bow hunting season, so it wouldn't surprise me if there's a hunter out here somewhere, because deer and elk, they seem to get smarter this time of year. They know to avoid people. But anyway, I'm still heading up the tundra here, and it's very steep. I know you probably can't tell in the video, but this is a steep grade, and there's no trail. I'll tell you, this is not a cakewalk. So there's a familiar sight out there. So right there, Mount Bierstadt, and then the Sawtooth, and then Mount Evans. Pretty cool perspective of that. And I have a video of me doing that hike. Very fun class 3 traverse. The views are getting better and better the higher I go up. And as you can see, I'm still steeply climbing up the tundra here. This is actually quite the difficult hike, I have to admit. All right, well, right here, getting a perfect view of Grays on the left, Torreys on the right. Very, very popular 14ers here in the Front Range. And I guarantee you there's a few hundred people somewhere up there making their way up to Grays and Torreys Peak. And up here, absolutely nobody, just me. And that's pretty cool. Nobody wants to hike the 12,000 foot peaks. Everybody wants to do the 14ers. A few people want to do the 13ers. Almost nobody wants to do the 12ers. Well, I'll tell you right now, this was one bummer of a false summit. I really thought that was going to be the summit, but it's not. The actual summit is right there. There's these rock formations over there. Right there. That's how you know you're at the summit of Silver Plume Mountain. But I'll tell you right now, I really truly thought this was the summit. So that was not a fun revelation for me. But that's okay. I'm very close. The weather is perfect right now. I should hopefully be there in less than 10 minutes. All right, guys, I made it to the summit of Silver Plume Mountain, 12,447 feet, and getting beautiful views up here of the Front Range. So this summit is pretty wide, lots of space up here for sure, big plateau, but technically because of this little rock formation here, this is the true summit, the geological markers right there. I wanted to climb up on top of this rock, but there's like no good way to do it, so I just kind of said screw it. I worked all this way to get up here. I don't need to climb on that last little tiny bit of rock right there. So right there, that's actually an abandoned mine shaft. So there's an actual abandoned mine shaft on the summit, which is pretty cool. And if you look back that way, that's looking back to that false summit, which actually you can bypass by staying on the south side of it, which I'm definitely going to do. So over there, there's Sherman Mountain, Republican Mountain. You can hike up to those from Silver Plume. You can also approach from the north, I believe. And then of course, if you're hiking up those peaks, you can also head over here to Silver Plume. Also, if you look right up there, that's Bard Peak. That's a 13er. I believe, I'm not sure if those are 13ers or not. They're definitely a little taller than Silver Plume Mountain is, but there's a ton of options once you get up here to keep the hike going if you want to. If you look over here, you can see some of the Indian peaks out there. James Peak Wilderness, a little bit of the Indian Peaks back there. We're not quite high enough where you can see over to Rocky Mountain National Park. And then over here, some great Front Range views. Right there are the peaks by Loveland Pass, Snaketaw, Cupid, Grizzly, and then of course right there is Torrey's, that's Gray's. Kelso Mountain is right there, and then back over there, that's Bierstadt, the Sawtooth, and Evans. So you can see lots of stuff from up here. And as you can see, it's just me up here today, nobody else. I got the summit to myself, and I honestly don't think that's going to change. And the weather is absolutely perfect right now. Like I said earlier, thunderstorms are rolling in about noon, so I definitely can't spend like all day up here, but it's just before 9 a.m. right now, so I definitely got some time to hang out up here and enjoy these spectacular views and enjoy the fact that I have a summit all to myself, which is really cool. This is a rare treat in Colorado to have a summit all to yourself, But that is the awesome thing about hiking 12,000 foot peaks, even 13ers to some extent. Some 13ers have people on them, even some 12,000 foot peaks. But this one was not easy to get to, I can tell you that. Total elevation gain was about 3,300 feet. The trail is easily accessible from I-70, but you know, once you get about 2 miles up that trail, you got to do a bushwhack up to Treeline, and then it's just straight up from there up here to the summit. So it's not easy. This is definitely harder than some 14ers I've done. Like, I would say this was more difficult. I found this to be more difficult than Grays and Torreys, as well as like Bierstadt or even Sherman. I definitely found this one to be more difficult than any of those. But it's worth it to have a moment like this where you just have the summit all to yourself. And if you look out here, I don't know if it'll show up in the video all too well, but you can see lots of red out in the tundra, and that's the first signs of fall. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna enjoy it up here and head back down. All right, well, I'm off the summit heading back down, and this is a better view of what I was talking about, first signs of fall here in Colorado, up here over 12,000 feet. And now I got a good 1.5 miles of tundra walking, followed by about a 3/4 mile semi bushwhack back to the 730 mine trail. And then from there it'll be an easy 2 miles down of a great trail. All right, well, I'm getting back down in the trees now, and from here I got about 3/4 mile of hiking down the gulch back to the 730 mine trail. And I'm gonna go ahead and assume that this is probably gonna be the crappiest part of the hike down, but hopefully it won't be too bad. All right, well, I'm finally done with the off-trail stuff. Back on the 730 mine trail, and you can see down there a little bit of I-70. We're about 1,500 feet above it right now, or actually more like 1,200 feet. So if you look right there, that's the Griffin Monument. So if that's your end destination, you get a great view of the surrounding peaks, a great view down into Silver Plume, and of course a great view of I-70. But from here it's going to be about 2 miles of class 1 hiking back to the trailhead. I can't tell you how happy I am to be back on a real trail again. Still haven't seen anybody, I might add. All right, I'm heading down the last couple of switchbacks here. Silver Plume is right down there, not too far away. What an awesome hike. Really took a lot of energy, actually. I mean, I knew it was going to be tough because, you know, 3,300 feet of gain is a lot. 8.25 miles round trip is a good amount of mileage. And, you know, half of that being off trail also makes it difficult. But even so, it was tough. But definitely worth it. I mean, having this whole trail to myself all day today, having the summit, you know, being able to sit up there at the summit for over a half an hour and have the whole place to myself and just be able to enjoy the views and enjoy the peace and the quiet. And, you know, there weren't people with summit signs that had the wrong elevation and all the other crazy stuff you see on top of 14ers. It was just me and the mountain. Pretty cool stuff. But anyway, I'll check back in with you guys one more time when I get back down into the town. All right, guys. Well, I made it back to the trailhead. Back in the town of Silver Plume. And my car, oh look, a very small pair of cowboy boots up there. And when I say small, those are freaking tiny for a very small cowboy. Anyways, I'm back in Silver Plume. And I gotta tell you, that was an absolutely incredible hike. It was so beautiful, such good views up above Treeline, and even that miserable off-trail part of below Treeline was pretty cool because you were hiking through the gulch next to that creek. So I would highly recommend this. It's very lightly traveled. I literally didn't see one. By the way, that train horn you hear is the Georgetown narrow gauge railroad. But anyway, I literally did not see one other person the entire day today. It was just me from start to finish. It's tough, definitely, and it's not the same. You don't get the same bragging rights, I suppose, as you do from doing a 14er, but it is absolutely worth it in my opinion. This is such a cool hike. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And summer's not quite over yet. It looks like we're getting some nice weather the next, few days here, next, 10 days or so at least, as far into the future as they can sort of predict. So that means I'm gonna be doing some more tall peaks before the snow starts to fall. Anyway, guys, have a good one, and I'll see you on the next video.